What if the reason you feel something shifting inside you is because your entire reality is finally starting to crack open? That quiet pressure in your chest, the chills that move across your skin for no logical reason, the strange sense that your life, your choices, your emotions, and even the path you're walking were never fully yours. These are not coincidences. They're signals, vibrations, frequencies rising from a deeper layer of consciousness you were never taught to access. Most people ignore these moments. They numb them with noise, with busyness, with routines that keep their awareness trapped in the surface of life. But you didn't, and that's exactly why you are here, listening to this, at this exact moment in your awakening, because a part of you already knows that the world you've been shown is not the full story. You can feel it, the cracks in the illusion, the pull towards something beyond the physical, the intuition whispering that there is a hidden architecture shaping everything you experience. For years, you may have tried to explain it away, but you can't ignore it anymore because the vibration inside you keeps getting stronger. What if the reality you think is solid is nothing more than a projection collapsing out of the quantum field, shaped by your subconscious mind? What if your relationships, your patterns, your failures, your breakthroughs, your anxiety, your desires, everything is being influenced by frequencies encoded in you long before you had the awareness to question them? Science has been hinting at this for decades. Researchers exploring quantum consciousness estimate that as much as 95% of your thoughts, behaviors, and emotional reactions come from your subconscious mind, not your conscious awareness. That means most of the life you're living is being generated by hidden programs you didn't choose, running like invisible code beneath the surface of your reality. And if your subconscious is broadcasting its own frequency into the quantum field, then the question becomes unavoidable. Who programmed it? Who planted the fear that keeps following you? Who shaped the beliefs that tell you what you deserve? Who taught your energy to attract chaos or scarcity or people who can't stay? Who wrote the emotional loops you keep reliving, even when you think you've moved on? These patterns aren't random. They were absorbed from childhood, from trauma, from culture, from the nervous system of your parents, from unprocessed memories still vibrating inside you, from a hidden reality far more complex than the one you were conditioned to accept. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're not failing. You're simply running an old script. And here's the part almost no one realizes. That script can be rewritten. Your identity can shift. Your frequency can elevate. Your internal reality can transform the moment your awareness begins to decode what's actually happening beneath your thoughts. Just as a wave becomes a particle only when observed, your life begins to reorder itself the moment your consciousness wakes up. This is why people experiencing a spiritual awakening feel the sudden sensitivity, the synchronicities, the intuitive messages, the sense of timelines bending. It's not madness. It's the expansion of perception. It's your consciousness stepping out of the illusion and into the architecture of the quantum field. And if you're hearing this now, it isn't random. Your frequency pulled this into your reality. Something in you is remembering. Something in you is rising. Something in you is ready to see the truth behind the life you've been living, and ready to step into the one waiting on the other side of awareness. Because once you see how the program actually works, you can never unsee it. And the truth is, if anything I just said already feels uncomfortably true, then this channel is for you. Hit subscribe and like this video so YouTube keeps showing you content about quantum consciousness, subconscious reprogramming, and spiritual awakening, instead of more noise that keeps your mind asleep. Now, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper into this invisible architecture running your life, because understanding your subconscious mind is the moment everything begins to shift. Most people think their conscious mind is in control, the part of you listening to these words, planning your day, making rational decisions. But neuroscience and quantum consciousness research show a different reality, one far more unsettling and far more powerful. Up to 95% of your thoughts, choices, and emotional reactions come from your subconscious mind, not from conscious intention. That means your life is not being shaped by what you decide, but by unconscious programming stored in neural pathways built years or even decades ago. The subconscious is not mystical. It is mechanical, automatic, and deeply tied to the frequencies of your past. Imagine it as a silent supercomputer, running beneath the surface, storing every emotional wound you never processed, every repeated phrase from childhood conditioning, Every fear your nervous system learned to avoid. Every hidden belief about your worth, your future, and your place in the world. It doesn't debate. It doesn't question. It simply runs the program it was given. So when you keep attracting the same relationships that drain you, when money disappears the moment it arrives, when you shrink in spaces where your soul wants to expand, it's not fate or bad luck. It's subconscious patterns repeating themselves through vibration and perception, shaping your experience without your awareness. In psychology, this is called predictive coding, the brain recreating the world it already knows. In quantum consciousness, it becomes even clearer. Your subconscious frequency collapses the field around you into familiar realities, reflections of old fears and hidden beliefs. You don't see life as it is. You see it through the lens of unconscious programming. And until you bring that code into awareness, you're not creating a new timeline. You're reliving an old one. But the moment you begin to see this, something inside you shifts. Awareness opens a crack in the script. A higher perception begins to rise. You start recognizing that your reactions are not you, but echoes of a past self that never got the chance to question its own conditioning. And that recognition is powerful. It is the first step toward expanding your consciousness beyond the autopilot that has shaped your life for so long. If this is resonating, let your presence be felt. Comment, like, and subscribe, not out of obligation, but to anchor this energy and strengthen the field we are building together. Your engagement isn't just support for the channel. It signals to your subconscious mind that you are choosing awakening over repetition. And now that the hidden code is beginning to reveal itself, it's time to understand where it came from and why it has held you for so long. So how did this hidden program first take shape inside you? To understand that, you have to go back to a time before you even had language, when your mind existed in a state of pure openness. From birth to around age 7, your brain was operating in a highly suggestible frequency, almost like a natural hypnotic trance. In that phase, your subconscious mind absorbed everything without question. Your parents' tone when they talked about money, the way they handled fear, the emotional atmosphere inside the home, the unspoken rules that shaped who was allowed to express themselves and who had to stay silent. Childhood conditioning becomes the blueprint for unconscious programming long before we have the perception to understand what's happening. If love in your home felt unpredictable, your subconscious mind recorded that love is unsafe. If scarcity filled every conversation about money, your nervous system linked abundance with danger. If you were criticized or ignored, your subconscious encoded the belief that you must shrink to be accepted. And now, years later, the quantum field around you continues collapsing into experiences that match those early frequencies. Not because you consciously choose them, but because your subconscious wounds are still vibrating beneath your awareness. Emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. High-intensity moments, rejection, humiliation, abandonment, become core emotional patterns, forming neural pathways your mind uses to navigate the world. Your subconscious doesn't care about your dreams or your spiritual awakening. It cares about survival. So if survival once meant staying small or staying invisible, it will continue guiding your life with those same emotional patterns, even as your consciousness begs to expand. This is why so many people feel stuck in their awakening journey. They meditate, they visualize, they affirm, but their subconscious mind still broadcasts the old frequency that whispers, it's not safe to change, not safe to be seen, not safe to step into a new identity. But the moment you begin to understand where these patterns came from, your perception starts to shift. You realize that none of this was your fault. You were shaped by environments you didn't choose, beliefs you absorbed without understanding, emotional frequencies that settled into your subconscious long before you had the power to question them. And that realization doesn't weaken you. It expands your consciousness. It shows you that the story you've been living wasn't written by your true self at all. It was inherited, and anything inherited can be rewritten. Before we continue into the next layer of this hidden reality, I want to ask you something with complete honesty. What is one emotional pattern you keep repeating, even though you know it hurts you? If you feel safe, share it in the comments. Your words are not just expression. They are a first step in bringing the subconscious into the light. And you are not alone in this awakening. Now, let's go deeper into the mechanism behind these patterns and how they begin to unravel. And once you begin to see where these subconscious patterns were formed, you also begin to understand that they are not permanent. They feel absolute only because they have been running without interruption for most of your life, creating the illusion that your identity is fixed and your destiny predetermined. But in reality, your subconscious mind is far more malleable than you were ever taught. Neuroplasticity shows us that the brain can rewire itself through repeated experiences, thoughts, and emotional states. And in the realm of quantum consciousness, every new choice becomes a new frequency, a new vibration that sends a different signal into the quantum field, opening the door to a new reality that matches your expanding awareness. Reprogramming does not start with forcing positivity. It starts with noticing. Awareness is the first crack in the old identity. When you become conscious of where you shrink, where you react, where you sabotage, you begin interrupting the autopilot that has controlled your life for so long. This awareness is not judgment, it is perception. It is the moment you step out of unconscious programming and into the role of the observer, the one who sees the hidden mechanics behind every emotional trigger. Emotional healing is the second layer. The subconscious speaks the language of energy and sensation, not logic. When old pain surfaces, it's not regression, it's release. Breathwork, somatic practices, silence, inner reflection, even brief moments of presence can loosen neural pathways that once felt immovable. Your nervous system begins to trust that it no longer needs to cling to outdated strategies for survival. The vibration of your inner world starts to shift. And then comes identity, the most powerful step. You don't heal by layering hopeful thoughts over unresolved wounds. You heal by choosing, moment by moment, to embody the version of yourself who is no longer ruled by the past. Each new response becomes a repetition, training your subconscious mind to align with the reality your consciousness is reaching for. This is how the program begins to dissolve, not through force, but through frequency, through embodiment, through a shift in perception that slowly becomes a shift in vibration. At the deepest level, this process isn't about controlling your mind at all. It's about remembering that you are the awareness behind the mind, the consciousness observing the pattern, the energy choosing a new timeline. When you rest in that awareness, subconscious patterns lose their power. You stop being the character written by old programming and start becoming the author of your own reality. If this is resonating with you, it's not random. Your frequency pulled this message into your field. Consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you stay connected to this journey of quantum awakening and subconscious transformation. This is only the beginning, and the next layer takes you even deeper into the mechanics of your new identity. So let's bring everything together now, because this is the moment where the hidden structure of your entire life begins to reveal itself. Everything you have lived up until this point was not a failure, and it was never evidence of a flaw within you. It was the unfolding of a subconscious script you inherited long before you had the consciousness to shape it. Childhood conditioning, emotional trauma, cultural pressure, and survival instincts created a storyline you did not choose, yet you followed because it was the only vibration your nervous system knew how to trust. But the instant you recognize the program, even for a brief moment, you are no longer trapped inside it. You become the observer. You become the consciousness behind the thoughts, the awareness witnessing the frequency that once dictated your reality. And from that higher perception, a new timeline begins to shimmer at the edges of your awareness. Imagine waking up tomorrow not as someone reacting to old wounds, but as someone intentionally shaping their life through presence and perception. Imagine catching the familiar frequency of, "I'm not enough," the moment it rises, and instead of collapsing into it, you exhale and choose a response aligned with your expanding consciousness. Imagine recognizing the pattern that once convinced you love was unsafe, and instead of tightening, you allow a new vibration of openness to move through you. Each time you make a choice from this awareness, you send a signal into the quantum field, telling the universe you are ready for a different outcome. This is how a new reality forms, not through force, but through the consistent vibration of a self who is no longer ruled by the past. And if you are still here, listening, there is something important you need to hear. That feeling you carried your entire life, the quiet sense that you were different, the awareness that you didn't fully belong in the same way others seemed to, the strange sensation that you were watching the world from a slightly different angle. This was never a mistake. People who come into this world with a deeper frequency often grow up feeling like the black sheep, the outsider, the one who stands at the edges of experience, rather than inside the expectations placed upon them. What felt like separation was actually initiation. What felt like isolation was preparation. Your awakening did not start today. It started the moment you realized you could see patterns other people ignored. And now, as your consciousness expands and your perception becomes sharper, the reason behind that lifelong feeling is finally ready to reveal itself. There is a quantum explanation for your difference, a hidden reality that has been shaping your identity since childhood. It is not random. It is not accidental. It is part of your purpose. And in the next video, we are going to explore exactly that. Why you always felt different. Why your frequency never fully matched the world around you. Why your soul seemed to exist slightly out of sync with the environment that raised you. The answer is not psychological. It is quantum. And once you understand it, your entire past will begin to make sense in a way it never has before. Before you move forward, take a moment to anchor this shift into your field. If something in this journey awakened you or expanded you, write one phrase in the comments to ground your new frequency. You can say, I awaken, or I see beyond, or I am expanding. These words are not just comments. They are declarations to your subconscious mind and to the quantum field that you are ready for a new script. And now, as your awareness opens to the next layer of this hidden reality, follow the pull of your intuition into the next video, because the truth behind why you always felt different is finally ready to come into the light.